There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The future of anime is here, and its name is Twins Hinahima, or more importantly, Kaka Technology Studios. What a name. What a name. I'm not sure if they're going for Kaka as in like laugh, like a cackle, or if they're going for literally crap because Japan loves poop jokes. That aside, I actually did watch Twins Hinahima when it first came out. Thankfully, somebody used AI generation to do the subtitling, which is just pure brilliance. But I watched it when it first came out, and it was okay. Like, nothing to really write home about. Yes, full of AI jank. There's still tons of it there. There's six fingers. All that stuff is still there. Jaggediness, all that stuff was still there. But I think overall the story was fine. Like, for a one and done story, it still was wrote by an actual person. The script was still done by a person. Voicing still done by people. It was fine for what it was. And I was really kind of wanting to stew on it for a little bit. I wanted to kind of think about it. I didn't want to do like a knee-jerk reaction, my gosh, AI is terrible, or hey guys, there's something here. I didn't want to just jump to it. And I was really kind of hoping to see sort of what Japan was thinking about this, because I think that's sort of the bigger thought process here. What does Japan, what does the anime industry, more importantly, think about Twins Hinahima? And you'd be shocked to know that crickets. I literally didn't really see much. I seen some reviews here and there and whatnot. There's a lot of statements made that people are watching this, anticipating what will come from this. That kind of stuff was still there, but overall, crickets. I mean, on like different sites like Abema, which was actually streaming it, 70,000 views, which isn't much when most like very average shows are getting like 500 to almost a million views on their episode. So it's one of those things where in the end, my thought process around it didn't really change much. Exactly what I was saying when they first were describing their processes and what they were trying to bring to the anime industry. This is a tech demo for their AI-generated assistants, basically. For those who don't know what Twins Hinahima is, it's essentially a series that was done by Kaka Technology Studios. And their whole point here was to use generative AI in order to assist in the production process. They claimed 95% of the cuts were created using assisted AI. The idea here is that they still have, a character designer, the person that's actually did the character designs. You do still have the voice actors that were giving it the voice. You have the script work being done by a person. And then you had key artists that were doing the beginnings and certain frames of the actual animation. And then the AI itself was generating everything in between. And this is sort of, unfortunately, the thing that I was assuming was going to be the future of the anime industry. Because for those that don't know, a lot of companies, the big animation companies, are looking to AI. And this is an unfortunate side effect of the fact that even though there's a ton of money being pumped into the anime industry, they don't want to pay animators. And so the result that you get there is, big shocker here, when people don't get paid well, they move on to something else. For the longest time, the anime industry has been sort of exploiting the fact that a lot of animators are doing it because they love anime. A lot of the people that are doing every single frame of your favorite work are not getting paid well. They're doing it because they love it and they want to get into the industry. And these industry have been taken advantage to the point that they're not going there anymore. And more stuff is being created to the point where now these companies are going, we don't have animators to do this. Well, enter Kaka Technology Studio. I love saying that name, by the way. They come in out of nowhere and they say, we have your answer. And I felt back when I first seen the announcements for this, they're very upfront saying, hey, this is what we're doing. This is our processes. My thought process back then was, this was them advertising their technology. And Twins Hinahima is literally this test bed to show, this is what we can do. So it's not so much to see what the average person thinks of it. It's more to know, what does Toei Animation think of this? What does Kyoto Animation think of this? What do these big studios think of this process? And I honestly feel in the end, this is going to be a positive showing. It's not a perfect showing. It's a positive showing. But let me get back into Twins Hinahima overall, because this is sort of a review at the same time as me making this big speech about what I feel about AI technology. Because unfortunately, yes, AI talk is very divisive, and it sucks that similar to politics itself, it's so difficult to even talk about it without somebody being on the extremes. You either have to hate AI or you have to love AI and just want to rub it in people's faces. But Twins Hinahima itself is about Himari and Hinana. Now, these are two characters that are not original to just this anime. This is a project that they've been building over time, and it's essentially two TikTokers that are trying to make it big. They're trying to have a viral video get out there, so these two are just doing different dance routines. You can find them on YouTube. They've been around for, I think, like about a year, maybe a year and a half, and all they really do is just record using what looks like rotoscoping, using an AI filter over on top of it to put their anime characters on top of them. And they just do different dance routines. And so they'll just I think they did one for Oshinoko, where they just had the song playing and they were doing their dance routine. Well, in the anime, it's the same thing. It's these two individuals trying to make it big. Well, Hinana wants to make it viral, whereas her sister, Himari, doesn't really care. She's a realist. She's somebody that's like, I need to get to studying because this isn't really that important. You're trying to shoot to make it big, and reality eventually is going to hit you. Well, eventually she decides to go off to study. Hinana starts to wander around. She eventually sees this bridge going over to this other side of the city that she'd never noticed was there before. And then eventually she chases this cat that has some sort of glitch that's on it until eventually she falls over and Himari shows up again. But it's not her sister. It's another Himari. And eventually the real Himari shows up. They chase each other across the bridge. The reality itself starts distorting until eventually they catch this other fake Himari, and she reveals what's going on. Slight spoilers here if anybody actually cares about the story, but it gets in this idea where this fake Himari is actually the real Himari that's outside of this virtual world. And it seems like she created this world in order to see the young Hinana. And that sort of gets into that realm of like, okay, this is actually a pretty cool little script here, even though it's all kind of backed end on the end of the actual episode. Everything before it is just an establishment of these characters, whereas the very end is where the actual story is. I didn't quite get a sense from the actual translation and what I was able to pull from doing my own translation, but I'm getting a sense here that there's a possibility that Hinana either is caught up in her life and has left Himari behind. Maybe this world is a projection of what happened in reality, and Hinana maybe became viral and hit it big, and Himari was left behind. There's a more tragic side of it, which could be the idea that Hinana herself has passed away, and this virtual world is created so that she can see her again. Either way, it was a good little ending to it. And like I said, it was enough to kind of go, oh, that was kind of worth my time. Not again that it looked good. So the story overall was decent. I think a lot of the character interactions, again, probably attributed to the fact that it was actually wrote by a person, was decent. Their jabs that they have at each other here and there was fun. They had a brief moment where they talked about parallel worlds and alternate realities. They did some goofy stuff where they were trying to make viral videos. There's still some fun in there. In the end, the dialogue in the story is like a 5 out of 10. Nothing to write home about, but it's okay. Yes, the biggest problem this show has is visually. That's going to be the biggest hang-up that a lot of people are going to have. It's impressive what they were able to do with the AI technology, again, kind of filling in all the in-betweens from this point to this point with just generative AI, but it still has that jank. That's really that jank, and for the first work that they've really done, it's kind of impressive, but it begs the question that if this did have people that were doing checks and balances on it, doing a lot of touch-ups afterwards, why does so much of that jank still exist is the big problem. Again, it does kind of give that sense that they were just trying to do this as sort of a showing of what they're able to do without trying to oversell it to the companies. There's 3 things that I think are the biggest upsets of the show. One is the contrast of the characters in the environment. Again, all being generated by AI just doesn't match the characters. They don't feel like they fit in that world. Yes, there's points where it gets very abstract. The backgrounds start to get really weird. But even before then, when they're back in here in this kind of stable environment, they clash too much. They don't fit in that environment. The second big problem is the line art. There is just a lot of jagginess to the character's line art. It just constantly is jittery. It doesn't really fit. I'm big when it comes to character designs themselves and the line art. Something that I pointed out here recently with 2B Hero X. I love the line art there. It just looks very crisp and it just works. This one, not so much. And then on top of that, yes, a lot of the in-betweens of this show just doesn't look good. There's several parts where it's transitioning from one point to the other, and it just doesn't look good. It's one of those shows that even if I'm trying to ignore the fact that it's AI, it just keeps jumping out and saying, hey, just so you remember, this is AI because the characters don't look right. The transition of the expressions is the key thing there. When you do have like Hinana stands up and she's suddenly shocked at some realization, it doesn't transition well. And that's sort of the byproduct of having the in-betweens done by an AI. The AI doesn't know what the artist is really thinking. I'm assuming the technology they're using is not very advanced, and it just doesn't know what it's doing. That's typically something that a person with a brain, not an AI, can figure out based on what they're told by the person doing the key arts. Here, the AI doesn't figure that out. It just knows get from point A to point B, and it doesn't work very well. I've seen 6 fingers here and there. The hair is just out of control. You have these moments where suddenly the hair just kind of shoots out Randomly, like the AI just got confused for a brief moment and thought that the hair needs to be over here when it shouldn't be over here. So in the end, yes, like that 95%, which is most of the stuff that's actually AI generative, is the downfall of Twins Hinahima. The janky character designs themselves, the proportions being off, the in-betweens being janky as all get, the hair going all over the place, the 6 fingers, the backgrounds just not fitting the characters, everything that was generative just didn't work. But again, this is basically a pilot film. This is an advertisement for their company, and I think what it was able to pull off is going to be appealing to a lot of companies, and that's the unfortunate thing about this whole thing. Because it is one of those things where if they can come out and say, hey, look at this, it looks janky, right? But that's 95% AI generated. Imagine if it was only 50% and you guys did all the rest. That's still 50% of your production that you did for the anime that you're doing will be done by AI, and how much does that save you? That's the key thing there. They showed all they can do with it, complete with the flaws. Now think about what it'll look like in a year. Now think about what it will look like if you handled more. Is there jank there? Think about if you just had one person handling that jank and cleaning that part up. That is technically the end result here. That is what I really think Twins Hinahima was about. As much as a lot of people will be angry at the idea of AI taken away from animators, what animators are actually left and being underpaid and slowly getting out of the industry, the unfortunate reality is a lot of companies will see this as opportunity. This will be the way to fill in that gap, fill in that lack of manpower that they're looking for. Yes, personally, I don't like it. I really don't like that this might be the actual future of animation. It's going to eventually get to the point where it's better. It's going to get to the point where this isn't a problem. The in-betweens will be so crisp and just work so well that we won't even notice. And that's going to be the unfortunate point in which a lot of this stuff kind of changes. A lot of people can call it soulless, but unfortunately it's just not going to change anything. I think the biggest tragedy overall with this show is that I feel like this story could have been like super impactful if it was actually done by a proper studio and given at least 4 episodes, like build into it, have like a really cool impactful ending and have maybe like a single episode just to like an after story. It's not like it's the most mind-blowing concept here. It's that idea of missing the old days. It's the nostalgia of your childhood, the wanting to relive your childhood concept just given to like a virtual reality world. It could have actually had a lot of substance to it and a lot of impact, but unfortunately it was left to Kaka Studio. I'm not gonna get over that. Anyways, that's my ramblings about Twins Hinahima and yes, AI. Like I said, just coming from a standpoint of not wanting to get in these crazy like extremes. If you're somebody that hates AI, I fully understand. Again, there's a lot about AI itself that I dread. I really do dread that we get to the point where everything is generated by AI. At the same time, I'm over here where I understand the usefulness of AI tools as an assisting tool that has, yes, been around for decades. We've been using AI technologies on a lot of stuff, Photoshop, medical uses, all these other things that they're using AI for. And so I can see a lot of the usefulness of it. But it's unfortunate that we've gotten to the point where it's either you have to hate it or love it, and you cannot be anywhere in between. But anyways, be kind in the comments down below, y'all. Be nice in the comments down below. Let me know down in the comments down below. Did you watch Twins Hinahima? I'm certain that a lot of people just watched it out of pure curiosity. Like it's that train wreck that you have to check out. But I'd be curious how many people have actually checked it out. It doesn't seem like it has much of a viewership overall, but that was kind of the expected thing for something like this that's out of the blue, completely, original that nobody knows about. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. If you want to support this content, become a member of the channel. But until next time, y'all take care.